Insider trading is one of the most prevalent problems in the modern day stock market. Ever since the Securities and Exchange Commission, or SEC, was founded in 1934, there have been an increasing number of laws regulating insider trading's classifications and consequences. Even though the majority of insider trading is illegal, there's a workaround that is actually legal. Overall, insider trading involves buying or selling a company's securities by individuals who have access to confidential or non-public information about the company. The person could receive this exclusive information due to being an employee or executive at the company, or from being personally connected with people from the company. Illegal insider trading occurs when material non-public information, or MNPI, is utilized to make trades. Examples of MNPI are details about a company that have not been publicly disclosed and information that is significant enough to swing investors' decisions in regards to buying a security or stock, and essentially it is private information that, if leaked, would affect a company's stock price. In one specific case, a man from Texas gained insider knowledge about from overhearing his wife's business calls about a company acquisition, where his wife's company, BP, was acquiring Travel Centers of America. He then earned $1.7 million in 2 months through buying and selling 46,450 of Travel Centers shares before his wife discovered it and reported him to the authorities. This problem is even more present within Congress, leading to many laws against it, such as the Stop Trading on Congressional Knowledge, or STOCK Act of 2012. This act introduced multiple provisions creating laws requiring members of Congress to follow policies such as filing reports for any transactions over $1,000 within 45 days and to refrain from trades where there appears to be a conflict of interest.
Although insider trading itself, for the most part, is inherently illegal, there are actually workarounds that you can do it legally. For us to legally insider trade, there are a few things we need to understand first. For starters, we need to know what a super investor is. A super investor is an individual or institutional investment manager who is renowned for consistently achieving exceptionally high returns. In simple terms, this basically means they are in charge of very large sums of money in their investment portfolio and they make a lot of money from it. They employ a variety of investment strategies and handle portfolios of immense value. Company executives and people with insider information that are from the company itself won't be able to simply just insider trade, if I may say so. The SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, mandate that these super investors in charge of portfolios larger than $100 million have to disclose their security holdings. Essentially, they have to tell them what stocks they bought and when they bought them. Every time a trade is submitted, they have to file the trade using a 13F form. This essentially provides transparency, allowing anyone to be able to access this information. The form includes information about the stock itself that you're buying, the shares that were purchased, the price of the shares, and more details of the sort. All of this essentially becomes public information, but the thing is, a lot of people just don't know that it actually does. For us to legally insider trade, we can use an application called Dataroma, which actually gives us this public information. It's an extremely helpful tool for our method, which is insider trading, which we do when trading stocks.
Okay, so this right here is dataroma.com, and it is a really helpful resource when you want to insider trade, legally, of course. So there's a lot of tabs here, and I'm going to be going over each one of them and what they basically talk about. So for starters, we have Super Investor Portfolio Updates. This list basically tells you the last time their portfolio was updated on the site. And we have a lot of rich people and a lot of famous names on here. For example, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, which is Bill Gates and his wife's foundation. You have Warren Buffett. You have there's just a whole lot of people on here with very large portfolio sizes. Then over here we get sort of a summary page. Like these are just portfolio stats, or like a general overview. So these are the top 10 most owned stocks amongst a lot of these people. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Visa, Meta, these are really common stocks. Top 10 stocks by percentage, again, very similar. Then this is interesting. So what this means is, for example, if I take Carvana with the ticker CVNA, three of these super investors have culminated 74.5% of their portfolio. That means their portfolio is literally 75% of just Carvana. Then you see more stats, top 10 buys in the last quarter, 2 quarters, and again, it just goes on. Now let's move on to the next tab, commentaries and articles. This is a really helpful resource to catch up on the news for current events and stocks, etc. Like, okay, you have Bill Ackman offers to take over real estate developer Howard Hughes for $85 a share. What this basically means is that after this takeover, Howard Hughes' stock price is going to get extremely affected, and you can take action on that. The next tab, super investors. So this is the entire list of super investors that affect this Dataroma website. Dataroma basically compilates all of these investors to bring up all these stats. There's a lot of famous names and a lot of rich names in here, and you can see a lot of details about their stocks. You can see their top 10 stocks that they have, the most quantity of them, and their portfolio. Like AKO Capital is a culmination, it's a trading firm, and it has $7.67 billion. Bill Gates Foundation has $45 billion. So Bill Ackman has 12.9. Just keeps going down. The list is very massive, and this is very helpful to actually see what stocks that these extremely rich people who are consistently making a lot of money with stock market shares, access to knowing what they are owning on the daily. Now, over to the next tab. This is the activity page. We can basically see in the most recent quarter what all of these trading firms and portfolio managers have bought and sold in this last quarter. It's also really helpful gauge to understand what is going on in the current stock market situation. Now, for the next tab, this is the S&P 500 grade. So this is a really useful tab. So the S&P 500 is a culmination of about 513 tech sector stocks that almost represent the entirety of the tech sector. So as you see, there's a lot of big names: Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Visa, Meta, Apple, and these are just a few of the names. So this is the S&P 500 grid as a total, and from the top left, you can see super investor ownership 33. That means 33 of the super investors on this website own Microsoft. That should be a really good sign that Microsoft is a good stock to hold and it will actually be going up soon. And you can see their average hold price right here. And the average hold price for Microsoft is 428.84. That means investors purchased this stock at an average of $428 and are currently holding on to it. And as you can see, you can go down the grid. Super investor ownership goes down slowly, but right through these two very popular stocks. So this is the green portfolio tab, and what this is, it's a culmination of every single super investor's portfolio into one. You can see the value of the portfolio is a whopping $896 billion. You can see ownership count basically means the amount of super investors that own it, and we saw in the S&P 500 grid, 33 super investors own Microsoft, and the average 2%, their max percent, current price. You can see all of this information for all of these stocks and how many super investors own each one of them. And the list is very, very long. So this right here is the tab that we have been waiting for, the real-time insider transaction data tab. You can set the time frame here, filter it out, go from a day all the way up to 2 years. You can filter out to be purchases only or sales only. What this means is when these people, and again, these are super investors, purchase a stock, you can only filter it to be purchases or only sales when they sell the stock, get rid of it basically. You can filter it to see 10% or greater ownership only. That means if they have more than 10% of the company owned, and you can find your own symbols. So let's understand this real quick. You can see the timestamps and see when this filing was completed. So remember earlier I talked about how these people have to fill out a 13F form, and basically whatever stocks they buy, they have to disclose it. So right here we can see this is when the filing was completed. This is the stock they purchased, Natera Incorporated. Brophy Michael Burks is the person who did it, and this is their position, Chief Financial Officer, CFO of the company. And this is when the transaction was completed. So even though they do have up to 45 days to file this, this person did it pretty instantly. He did it on the 31st of January and it was filed on the 31st of January. This is what he did. He sold his stock. This is the quantity of the shares he owned, and this is the average price. And this is the total dollar amount. He sold 333,000 worth of stock. Now, when somebody sells a stock, there's really two ways to interpret it. Either they think that the stock is going to collapse in a short amount of time, or they really just need the money. Now, when people sell a stock, it's not really that much of a strong gauge as when they buy stock, and I'll get to that later. But in this case, you can see Natera Incorporated has a multitude of executives selling it. You have Chapman, Steven Leonard, Vasco John. You have him, and Sheena Jonathan. This goes up. You can see these are all executives of the company. He's the CFO, he's a director, he's an executive chairman, he's a chief and legal officer, he's the president, he's the president chief business officer, and then he's the CEO and the president. So this is like the entirety of their executive board, and they all have sold NTRA, Natera. And this dollar amount, like, look at him, $1 million worth of shares sold, 631,000, 500,000. So this is $1 million again. So this is a really good gauge. I would say that this stock is about to collapse and it's going to drop a lot. And they're selling this stock because the price is going to be dropping. And if they hold on to it while the price drops, that means they're going to be losing a lot of money. And the reason all of them sold this is because there is some sort of insider trading information, and these are all CEO executives, and they have access to this information. It might be an earnings report, or it might be a social sentiments report saying that the company has not done well this quarter, and that's why the stock is going to dump. And that is exactly why they have sold it off while the price is still up high. If you see something like this, everybody selling the stock, this could be a really good sign for you to be able to short the stock. Shorting the stock basically is betting on the fact that you think the stock will go down instead of the traditional buy and sell, thinking it will go up. If the stock actually does collapse, you're going to make the same amount of money as it would have gone up, but instead going down. So it's a really good indicator, I would say. This right here, this stock, TKO Group Holdings, I have not seen this amount of purchases in a very long time. You can see the CEO, people with 10% plus ownership. The list goes down very long. Emmanuel Ariel, Wetzel Patrick, Silver Lake West Holdco. All these people, look at this quantity, 2 million, 10 million, 2 million, 10 million again, 10 million, 7 million, 9 million, 10 million. There has been a lot of money put into this stock, and this is honestly a power move. And it's a really good implication that this stock is going to be on the rise very soon. Their stock is about to rise, and it's a good sign for us to also purchase this stock if it hasn't risen yet, because there is some sort of insider information here that has caused these people to trade at this magnitude in their own company. So I've typed Meta in here, and this is one last example of a real world application. Mark Zuckerberg has actually gone crazy with selling Meta stock. He has multiple pages of Meta stock sold just in the past week, as you can see here. And as the table says, he has sold $73 million of Meta stock just in the past week. And you can see his name here when the filing was completed, what he did, the shares. This amount is not less. Every single trade 70 adds up to $73 million. But what's more interesting is you can see the starting price, okay? So this is on the 27th of January when he actually did this trade. Price was $657 of the stock. So you can go up gradually. It goes up to, it drops here to 627, but then it pumps up 650, 660, 665, 670, 674, 675, 678, 680. And then we have a drop, but then we have more growth. Now we're at 681. And it just keeps pumping up. But what we can see from this is that he's selling off a lot of his stock because of this really large pump. In the past week, Meta has gone up 10%, and that means it is bound to fall. And Mark is prepared for this. He's waiting for that fall. That is why he has sold so much. So for us, it would be wise to short the stock again based on how much he has sold just in the past week. Well, that's it for today, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to come back next week for a new video.